watching UnrealEntGaming. This is Vegeta, the prince of all Saiyans. Make sure you subscribe to UnrealEntGaming and push the like button for me. Or else you'll be Hakai. Not Beerus. You know how this works. Make sure you enable all notifications on the channel and watch the entire video all the way through. And don't forget to follow UnrealEntGaming on both Instagram and Twitter. That's enough! On with the video.
With the promise being kept by Goku in helping Broly achieve new levels of power, as the agreement was made by Jiren that whenever the time is right for both Jiren and Broly to go one-on-one in battle, with Vegeta and Goku now being shown having to help Broly, as with Broly now being shown having to little by little grow gradually in terms of power and now discovering a brand new transformation, the million-dollar question going forward is, will Broly receive the necessary training in being ready to go head-to-head in battle against Jiren, or are there still many milestones for Broly to reach before having to go one-on-one against Universe 11's strongest warrior? Now, before we dive any further into this video, if you are new to the channel and of course have a love and passion for all things Dragon Ball related, including its manga, anime, video games, fan animations, fan mangas, and more, in which would also like to be kept up to date with everything in regards to the Dragon Ball Super manga, the Dragon Ball Super anime, Dragon Ball video games, and any and all additional content within the Dragon Ball universe, then I do encourage you guys to head on over and smash that subscribe button and turn on all notifications by clicking on the bell icon to always be notified whenever a brand new video is posted onto the channel, as well as giving this video a big thumbs up by slapping that like button down below if you guys are simply excited to see what the future holds for the Dragon Ball franchise. And with all that being said, I want to thank you all so much for your time, thank you all so much for supporting the channel, and now let's dive straight into the video. As our story continues with Broly being shown having to now bear a brand new power with Goku and Vegeta arguing in the distance, with Goku being shown having to seemingly want to calm Vegeta down, that's when Goku went on to tell him, "Calm down, Vegeta, you know it will work." In which, as Goku was from there shown having to turn around and facing Broly, that's when Goku went on to tell him, "So, Vegeta and I realized that trying to teach you the opposite methods at the same time can be a bit confusing, so we decided we are going to teach you a different way," he says, to where it was only from that point where Broly had gone in once again having to see Goku and Vegeta fuse, which interestingly enough, more so than anything else, as this was shown happening, Broly had seemed to have remembered this exact energy, because once the dust began to settle on down and Gogeta was once again shown having to stare Broly down, it was only from that point on where Broly had looked on in absolute shock, because it almost kind of appeared as though Broly had remembered Gogeta following the events of Dragon Ball Super Broly, which how could anyone not, especially the beating that he had to endure from somebody like Gogeta. So with Broly having to observe this, that's when Gogeta went on to tell him, "Alright, big guy, let's see what you can do." To which, once again, Broly did not waste any more time in having to do so, because within that very moment, as Broly had gone in dashing directly towards Gogeta, it was only from that point on where we got to see an exchange from the two as Gogeta was in base form, which simultaneously during the course of their battle, Gogeta had gone in transforming into a Super Saiyan, but it did not end there, because interestingly enough, more so than anything else, what Monty Black and Jordan Lee had decided to do was gradually have Gogeta jump from level to level to level, because it was right after where Super Saiyan Gogeta had countered Broly with his kick, where he had then gone in transforming into a Super Saiyan God, which was nevertheless a really cool thing to see, especially after having to witness God Gogeta speed blitz towards Broly, because it was from that point on where Gogeta had gone in attacking Broly quicker than Broly could even realize, which from there Gogeta had quickly followed up by being shown having to kick Broly up in the sky, as from that point on, Broly was shown to be at a significant disadvantage until, as soon as Gogeta had gone in transforming once again, Broly was shocked by this, because once more he had gone to witness Super Saiyan Blue Gogeta literally right there in his face, which I'm sure had gone in bringing back very horrible memories since the initial events of Gogeta versus Broly in Dragon Ball Super Broly. So, as a means to get rid of Gogeta and get rid of him fast, Broly from there had gone in firing a gigantic gigantic energy blast directly at him, but with Gogeta being Gogeta, Gogeta was in fact able to move out of the way fast enough, and from there being shown having to once again speed blitz right towards Broly and being shown having to kick him in the gut, which one could only imagine the amount of pain that Broly is going through just for the sake of having to get stronger himself, because Gogeta was not letting up. So instead, Gogeta ended up creating and firing a gigantic blast directly at Broly, in which Broly wasn't backing down, Broly wasn't overwhelmed by the challenge of facing Gogeta again, but instead, Broly had embraced this, as of course he was then shown having to look up in being swallowed whole by Gogeta's attack. It was only from that point on, with Gogeta then shown having to make his way down, with Gogeta having to be shown overseeing and patiently waiting to find out what the outcome of this was going to be, as of course through the smoke we see how Broly is huffing and puffing, and he seems to be very surprised and very shocked by something, because it was during that point in time where Gogeta went on to ask him, "What's wrong, Broly? What's happening?" Broly asks himself, as he only from that point on began to remember the very last thing that he had ever gone to witness on planet Earth before having to return back on planet Vampa, which was that of Gogeta's final Kamehameha, which from that point on had given Broly horrible flashbacks. In remembering the point in time where he nearly died, by no means was Broly willing to go through any of this again, because now Broly was beginning to remember, and by no means was Broly going to stand by and allow for something like that to happen again, as Gogeta from there went on to continue, "If the pressure of a stronger opponent is too much for you, then I have no choice," he says, as it was only right then and there where we got to see how Gogeta had gone in creating a Stardust Breaker in his hand, as the very moment from that point forward, as Gogeta had gone in throwing this directly towards Broly, Broly was once again not willing to back down, so instead, Broly had then quickly gone in leaping forward by extending his arm in grabbing onto the Stardust Breaker in his attempts of smashing it within his hand, which was already insane as it was, because with Gogeta having to observe this for himself, it was only from that point on where a massive explosion had then occurred, to where fortunately enough for Broly, he was in fact still alive, but there seemed to have been something different involving Gogeta, because as Broly went on to turn his head, in looking on in absolute shock, in not being able to believe as to what he was seeing, out of nowhere we then see how he was struck all of a sudden by something unknown to him, with his body being shown having to be sent out flying into the distance, as we only then get to see how all of this was caused by the end result of none other than Mastered Ultra Instinct Gogeta, with Gogeta being shown menacingly having to stand there. That's when Gogeta went on to comment, "Broly, your body adapts in battle on its own by imprinting the experiences into your muscle memory," he says. "In order to use this to defend and avoid danger, you must learn to clear your mind and tame your instincts. The more your Saiyan blood pumps, the more powerful and vicious you become. You need to learn the correct time to use those abilities," Gogeta says. But Broly wasn't having it, so instead, Broly decided to rush on in his attempts of punching Gogeta, to where as he did, very similar to Moro, as soon as Broly had gone in making contact out of nowhere, it almost looked as though Broly had seemingly broken his hand just by having to punch Gogeta in the chest. But even then, despite all of the pain that Broly was going through, he still wasn't willing to give up, so instead, Broly kept on attacking and attacking and attacking, to where as Gogeta was shown having to block off each and every single one of Broly's strikes, it was within that moment where Gogeta went on to tell him, "Attacking while your opponent is on the defensive like this is pointless. You have to wait for your chance to strike," he says, to where once again, as soon as Broly had gone in his attempts of punching Gogeta again, it was only from there where Gogeta had gone in transitioning from Mastered Ultra Instinct directly into Vegeta's Ultra Ego by them being shown having to headbutt Broly directly in the face, which was a crazy transition as it was, with Broly's body being shown flying. That's when Gogeta went on to respond by telling him, "And you need to learn to defend yourself. You may have powerful instincts, but if you can't use them correctly, then they are useless," he says. But once again, to Broly's astonishing credit, he refused to back down, he refused to give up, so instead, despite the overwhelming odds that Broly was faced against, he still went on to attack Gogeta anyway, in which as he did, interestingly enough, once more, Gogeta had then gone in transitioning from Ultra Ego back to Mastered Ultra Instinct, in effortlessly being shown in having to move out of the way from Broly's attack. But not only that, each and every single time Broly had attempted in attacking Gogeta from behind, Gogeta was already avoiding and dodging each and every single one of Broly's strikes, in which towards the end, as Gogeta had once again gone in transitioning back into Ultra Ego, you can kind of see a little bit of a pattern here, in a sense where every time Broly had attacked, Gogeta as a means of defense had used Ultra Instinct to avoid it, whereas every time he was the one attacking Broly, he was instead using Ultra Ego. And as Gogeta was shown having to dash towards Broly, that's when when Gogeta went on to shout, "It looks like you only learned the hard way, fine with me," he shouts. As right before Gogeta had assumed that this was going to be it for Broly, it was only then during that moment where Broly had in fact actually listened to Gogeta by closing his eyes, and from there being shown avoiding Ultra Ego Gogeta's attack, which completely went on to shock Gogeta, as this was the opening that Broly had needed, and from there finally being shown having to successfully land a thunderous kick to Gogeta's stomach, to where once again, as Broly had from there gone on the attack, with Gogeta having to transition back into Ultra Instinct, as soon as Ultra Instinct Gogeta had gone and grabbing onto Broly's punch, it was within that moment where Gogeta had assumed dominance in attempting to strike Broly, but then, unbeknownst to Gogeta, Broly quickly followed up by then connecting another punch to Gogeta's stomach, which had gone and sending Gogeta's body flying back, as Gogeta then went on to respond to Broly by telling him, "Now that's what I'm talking about," as just when you may have thought Gogeta was finished, as a matter of fact, he wasn't, because with Gogeta being shown having to extend his arms outwards, in transitioning from both Ultra Ego into Ultra Instinct, he was seemingly enough creating an attack that combined the best of both powers into one, as the expression on Broly's face alone was enough to cause major concerns. Until then, fortunately enough for Broly, Goku and Vegeta had separated, in not being able to bear that power for much longer, as even with both of them being shown separating, that's when Goku went on to acknowledge Broly by telling him, "Broly, I think you're ready." With Broly being shown having to breathe a sign of relief, one can only imagine the thought process level of what Broly was thinking in having to fight Gogeta again, as all the while within Universe 11, we only then see how Belmont, Margarita, and Toppo were seemingly enough observing something, as they were only looking at what seemingly had appeared to be that of a gigantic supernova, but this was no star. As a matter of fact, it was Jiren, and his aura alone was so tremendous in its depth and scale, as Belmont from there went on to respond by commenting, "I haven't seen Jiren this hyped for a while now. I know training with a supernova is normal for him, but he's meditating in the heart of one." That's wild, man, with Toppo responding, "This isn't new. This has been his normal training regimen since the tournament," he adds, to where within that very supernova alone, as Jiren was shown meditating, Jiren had then taken it upon himself in unleashing a singular strike from within that literally went on to ripple through the entire universe, as even Toppo went on to respond by acknowledging this, "Well, that's new," to where before you know it, as Jiren had gone in making his way towards Belmont, Margarita, and Toppo, without even having to think twice and having to move with such speed, it was only from that point on where Belmont went on to acknowledge Jiren by responding, "Ah, Jiren, what could you be doing here?" With Jiren responding, "I need training." Oh, you came to the right place, friend, as it was only then during that moment where Jordan Lee and Monty Black's Beyond Dragon Ball Super story of Jiren vs. Broly manga chapter number 3 special then comes to a close. Now, this manga chapter was chock full of surprises, and what I really enjoyed most, I would say, was seeing as to how Gogeta was effortlessly able to transition from using Mastered Ultra Instinct and from there having to use Ultra Ego, and to even see Gogeta push Broly far enough in tapping deeper into his own potential. This kind of now begs the question, for me at least, to ask, what about Jiren? What exactly is Belmont going to do in further going as far as to reinforce Jiren's potential in allowing for him to get stronger, as of course we inevitably know that both Broly and Jiren are going to come to blows, hopefully relatively soon. But what I want to know from you guys is, which side are you guys going to be on? Are you guys for Team Jiren, or are you guys for Team Broly? And after seeing what Jiren did, even for the small amount of things towards the end of the manga chapter, I think that this itself creates a lot of hype to see what Jiren's training is going to be like. So again, to that, you'll just have to tune in to find out what happens next, as of course me myself, I am excited to see in what kind of direction they end up taking this in, because we know that this is a completely different restructured story from the older version, and in my own opinion, I have no doubt that this is going to be far better than what we've seen go down before, which again, I do want to go ahead and thank you all so much for watching. Thank you all so much for your time. As always, if you guys just so happen to also be new to this channel, then I do encourage you guys to go on over and smash that subscribe button, on top of giving this video a big fat thumbs up by smashing that like button down below if you guys enjoyed it. Tune back in for more, because there is so much more coming your way, and with that being said, I will be seeing each and every single one of you down the comment section below and in the next video. Take it easy, guys, and have a great day. Peace.
Hello. Did you know that you can stay up to date with the latest Dragon Ball content by simply subscribing to UnrealEntGaming?
Also, don't forget to follow on these social media platforms, you sexy son of a bitch.
Roshi.
Silence Cell, me and the fans are having a moment. That's right. I know what you want. Extra long, thick Dragon Ball content. Quality reviews with flawless editing. Yeah, you'd like that, wouldn't you? You dirty bitch.
Roshi, the fuck?
God damn it, I need them to subscribe, Cell.
And we're demonetized.
Yeah, screw it. Let's cut to the video.